Great. Now you don't want the window behind you because it's flashed on.
The fireplace?
Yeah.
I got this recorder working.
Marcy, the middle child has decided to do the next question after we answer Teddy's. Actually, Marcy, that sounds very pretty.
There's within my heart a melody. Jesus whispers sweet and good. Here I with thee, peace, peace there. In all of life's end and flood. Jesus, Jesus, sweetest name I know. Here's my every longing. Jesus, take it as I go. Tasting all the riches coming back to welcome me. Far beyond the stormy sky, I shall leave the mountains worlds unknown. I shall raise his head on high. Jesus, 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 sweetest name I know. Till time every longing, she is as I know. Jesus, 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 sweetest name I know. Till my every longing, she's received as I know. Okay.
Okay, Dad, you got the question and you got the way we're gonna do it.
Nick, could I ask the question first? Is there anybody that would like to forego their turn to ask a question? Is that way we know how long we can do it? We'll just have to.
We just stop when we're done. We'll stop when we're done.
We won't get everybody.
I didn't know who was asking the question.
Yeah, everybody's
Somebody's
that's why I
making
say, that's why I say, I think he needs to explain exactly what he wants.
You're just making a statement, weren't you?
No, he wasn't even saying. Well,
I
didn't hear
Well,
that.
keep your answers short and don't interrupt.
The statement, the question is, what has someone in your family, your family, your immediate family, your brothers and sisters and your dad done for you that was very special to you, and you remembered on occasion, and it had a profound effect upon you?
Just one.
You can only pick one?
Yeah, we won't have time.
No.
Yeah, I think you should pick that. How about if you
No,
give them
we
the
don't
time
do
and
that.
they can talk real fast and
I think you
everybody
should
have 5
have
minutes?
3 or 4 minutes, because there might be more than one person.
Well, everybody
and
have 1 minute.
Somebody might get their
You want,
feelings hurt.
tell us one more, signal what I want. 1 minute, not
It's not legal to get the outlaws involved in that kind of.
Yeah, this is just.
Oh, we can't bring in our in-laws. Why not?
You can't tell, well, I don't think any, I'm kidding, really, but to ask one of us to time you is.
I'll do the time.
He's
got-
I think I'd rather just pick one person, if I may, so that, because I can say something really wonderful about a lot of people in this room, but I'm afraid if I were to forget one, then they might feel hurt. So I'd rather just pick one that is always going to stand
Well, then the
out.
rest of us are gonna really be upset.
Shut up.
Pick
I'm
that.
going to have to pick this old bossy, graphic. Please prove it. He came to my house and lived in my house and almost kissed my feet during Donna's funeral. No one will ever take away what she meant for me then, because I felt so much love. At a point in time when I wanted to, I don't need this and I don't need that. Truthfully, my mind is out in orbit somewhere. I didn't know what I need. She did, and she knew I needed her, and she was there for me, and I will always love you for that.
Y'all give Happy a big hand.
I wouldn't have thought not to go. She was my sister, and almost like a second mom to me, and it was to me, it was, anyway.
Okay, your turn.
I have to do something now?
I don't know where
Don't have to
Steve
be
is.
somewhere, Steve.
Doesn't matter.
He and Ed must have gone somewhere.
Okay, I will probably pick on my other big sister over here at the end of the table, Bonnie. And I would say that when my family moved to Denver, and where Weston's lived, Bonnie was more than willing to open up her home, introduce her friends to us, and really welcome us to Denver and make us feel wonderful. And at Denver, the thing that took us the most was our times together.
Hey, John, you go for it if you like. You got somebody to.
Your
it's
family?
somebody-
Sure.
Let's get the kids first, then we're kind of.
Go for it. Your part. You've been here long. You must
I
be.
can't think of anybody's ever done for me. He's passing around for time.
Pass the time.
Well, that's not true. I mean, I can think of something there. I mean,
Well, go for it. You're a family.
Ed and Happy were special when they lived in Colorado. It was nice having them there. And but I just think a lot of communications that I've always had, and especially when I first came into this family with Mr. Asherman, you know. I was kind of an oddball little kid, and when I came over to the Asherman family, they accepted me, and I didn't have much self-confidence. I had just barely graduated from high school, and I was intimidated by Bonnie. I couldn't even read hardly, much less go to college at that particular time in my life. And this whole family was intellectual, and I would go over there on Sunday afternoon, Mr. Ashman reading these big fancy books, you know. I've read 2 books in my life when I started dating Bonnie that actually completed. And he was real special and kind of in a solemn, quiet way. And Miss Ashman, she was real vocal about it. You know, you my boy already, you know. I think she made Bonnie accept me so too. So, but anyway, I appreciate him and the way he was very accepting to me.
Okay, do Ed know what we're doing?
I don't even know where Ed is.
Oh.
I never know where he is. He comes and goes. He comes and goes like a male dog.
Okay, Bonnie's turn, we'll come back to it.
You'll catch on with
What do we
Up
got?
there, two more questions.
Because really, I could just say something real special about everybody here, because, I mean, at some point in my life, every one of you guys have just,
You can say something special about anybody.
been super special, but, you know, if I gotta pick one person, it would have to be my daddy. I don't know, I guess I've always felt like, not necessarily felt like I was his pet, but I always felt close to him. I think the most strained our relationship ever got maybe was after we worked together for a little bit. And, but we came through that and still friends. But I think the thing that, oh man, this is, as a little girl, some of my very best memories were sitting down with Daddy if I had a question about something that came up in our Sunday school classes or stuff. I could sit down with him, and I can remember so often he'd always start off by grabbing a piece of paper, and he used to draw these little stick men. And anything I asked him about the Bible or Christian principles or whatever, it seemed like everything he could put it in the picture form with these little stick men. And it just, you know, I just thought there's just no answers that my daddy can't help me with like that. And I remember one of the other things that came up as we were, I guess, teenagers, and of course, everybody, I think, knows that, you know, Daddy and Mom started off in a Mennonite church, had been born into a Mennonite church and raised in that environment, and then Daddy actually got saved in the Nazarene church, and when we first moved to, after he left the Mennonite church, and then he went to a Presbyterian church because some dear friends of his were Presbyterian ministers, and then he moved to South Carolina, and there was this little Methodist church that was very, very close, and some friends of ours were involved in that, so we were Methodists, and then we went to an independent church for a while. Anyhow, we were in many different denominations, and, you know, at that point in my life where I was really wanting to know what's really right, what's the truth here. And I remember one time asking Daddy, tell me which one of these churches now do you think is the absolutely right church? And I remember him saying to me, I don't think any of them are the absolute right church. He says, the only absolute is the Bible. And he said, as a Christian, you need to study the Bible, and you need to ask the Lord to help you understand what is being said there. And then you go out and find a church that's the very closest to what you think what you're seeing in the Word. And whatever church that is, you give it all you got. And I can't tell you, with the way there's a lot of different denominations that have come out of our family, but to me that was a very deep principle that you passed on to me that has really stuck, because it's like when the churches that I've been involved with through the years haven't always done everything the way I thought was right. It didn't matter. That was a church. That wasn't the absolute that you gave me. The Word of God was the absolute. And that just, because of that, I feel like that I've always had that really solid foundation that nothing can shake. And so I have to say that of everything in my life, there's probably nothing that tops that for being just really special and valuable.
Good job, Dave.
Well, I think I could pick out, could go right around the table but right up currently, Marcy has been a real encouragement to me since Thelma's gone. She's invited me 3 times. I've been over to have a meal over there, and that has meant an awful lot. And on each time, she and Melvin had folks, several folks from the church come and have lunch there with us together, and it just meant a lot. And the fact that Marcy was there when Thelma passed away meant an awful lot, because she helped through the whole difficult situation. And then Steve and Linda, what a blessing Linda has been. I don't know how I ever made it with Thelma's cancer condition without Linda's help. She would come over there, and especially as they got Thelma on the medication, I just there would been no way with as many pills and things that they had her on. But I came across at a drugstore a little plastic box with a strip for each day. It would have morning, noon, evening, night, and Linda would come over and fill all those little boxes up. And all I had to do was just make sure that I got the pills out, and that way that Thelma always got the right pills. And it really meant a lot. And in the last, I guess the last 6 weeks, something like that, up till that time, I was able to take your mother over to the other bathroom because it just had a curtain on it, didn't have the glass doors, and I was able to take your mother over there and give her a bath twice a week. And but the last, I would have been 6 weeks, something like that. I just couldn't put any weight on her feet at all, and I didn't know how in the world what to do. And Linda came over and said she would give her a bath right there in bed. And she just, it was a hard job, and she never complained, it was just such a blessing. And then I might say, I need to say this, that Steve and Linda, in the last, since 1984, the Lord used them to help us to have a place to live that we really have enjoyed. I'll never forget, after Steve got that land over there, he called us and told us that he got the land, he wanted to show it to us, and they were going to have a picnic there. And that was when the trees were, before there was any work done or anything on it. And Thelma and I really enjoyed the picnic and the meal, and we had a good time. And we got ready to go. He had a gate across the driveway then. And we got ready to go. We got down to the gate, and Steve said, wait a minute. He said, I want to talk to you. And I'll never forget this. And he said, now, I've talked to the other children, and some of you may remember, he said, I've talked with the other children, and he said, as you get older, you need to get close to one of your children. So he said, you can pick out 4 acres anywhere you want on here. We're going to build on it. And he said, you can pick out 4 acres anywhere you want and build on it. And I said, 4 acres, man, I don't need. I said, a half an acre is all I need. But anyway, to make the story, our life, the last years with your mother, we could not have been living, even if we would have had a mansion that we enjoyed living in as much as we did. And Thelma she sure enjoyed the opportunity of the plants and the flowers and it just, I don't know how we'd have made it in the last 13 years, 14 years, without the way the Lord used Steve and Linda in my personal life.
Don't clap so much.
Don't get in the big head. Okay, this time it's Steve.
Let me go back good first.
Some animals are having to do this after all.
Oh, so whatever. You can't just listen.
Go for it.
Well, mine is very much like John in that all of you have been hospitable to my being in the family, and I so much appreciate that. We've been in happy home, and she's very gracious hostess in spite of my allergies and the cat.
Cat's dead.
Cat's
Renee.
dead.
Come back.
We couldn't have
She
her.
makes me like a macaroni and cheese.
We got rid of her.
Yeah, and the times we spent at Nancy, she's also a gracious hostess, and with Linda and Steve, and the time we spent there, and Ted and Lisa as well, and all of you have just been dear to me, have endeared yourselves to me by your acceptance and your love, and I appreciate you. Good luck.
I wanted to do two maybe. One is Melvin, and I remember I see Melvin one of the times. And one of the things I think what blessed me about Melvin is his down to earth thing when he came over to the apartment where the apartment stood at. And we were sitting around in that big living room area where the bathroom and Dad's study was. He came in and leaned up against the wall, sat down on the floor and leaned up against the wall. Pulled up his pants and his little paper white legs. and there's one other thing. He used to have a little hair on it.
I've never seen that white a leg in my life.
You're not gonna find me the present.
Those days I'm gonna get cancer.
In Melbourne for a while, they lived in that apartment, the one right next to the corner of where we lived in the barracks. They lived right next, and we went over there and we played Monopoly. It seemed like late. And one of the times, what stands out about this is, and just the thing that he was so down to earth in that anyway, I think the thing maybe a lot about Tabernacle was not down to earth in that sense of it. It maybe that you couldn't have that kind of fun. But we were playing Monopoly, and it was going on a long, Monopoly can get very long. And Melvin was getting a little looser, and I don't know what on, but he had his hair back in those days, they were real long. And I can't remember what the conversation, he says, well, let me show you some more hair. And he combed all his hair forward. And it was just big, humongous. One of the things about Melvin was a principal at the Tabernacle when I was a student there. In fact, I drove a bus, if I'm not mistaken, while he was there. And just several times, it's just a privilege that I was related to this important person.
Kick him out of there!
I was hoping that he didn't have too bad of Marcy, because a few times he had to give me a few whacks with the Board of Education, they call it. Anyway, just being down to earth, and I remember one time I had a flat tire and I fixed it on the church van when I was driving it for the school, and I replaced the tire and came back and we told him. And he said, we pay someone to do that. And he gave me, I think, $7 or something for doing that. So anyway, it was just, I appreciated his down to earth and his carrying himself in so many excellent ways there. Now, one other thing I just want to say, because Ted chauffeured me around in 9th grade. And I'll give the downside to it. He would come and had algebra the 6th period. he was free 6th period. When we didn't have football practice, he would come to the back of the class. You know, I failed that class. He would come and he would go like this. And I'd say, "May I be excused?" I would get up and get my books and I'd start to say, "Yeah, you can," he thought I was going to the bathroom. I never come back. but for instance,
That's a good thing.
and while he and Earlene were up there doing their stuff, after school, I would be playing
What kind of
basketball.
stuff did they do?
I can't talk about it. I'd be playing basketball with Eddie McDowell. But Ted, I was on the, we had our football games on Tuesday night. And he had to stay. Sometimes I think about it, he would have to go, and for one time I think he drove to Dacusville, and I didn't play. I took out of the game about a quarter. He got there late. He said he was anyway. He just was a sort of he just adopted me in that case, and just his excitement. I did that one time. I had that one decent play. And I remember us having
One time I had that one.
well, I never did concentrate enough to learn offense. I could only play Defense, and it's hard to score on defense, but I did. But anyway. But I remember
What are we
talking about? And I remember we were driving home and we had car trouble right there in front of that chiropractor office. Or he must have lived right next to his office there on the East North Street where it curved around. And it was a Tuesday night, and he was telling that guy a little bit about the game, and it's just that sense of sort of standing by me, close to me when like our family was really fragmented at different times. I mean, Ted was saying sometimes Mom and Dad, we were 11 years old, and like if we stayed out 3 or 4 o'clock in the morning, nobody ever knew it.
They were talking about this lady back here.
They treated me the same way as you. They didn't know care what time I
They'd already put you in the care of the Lord. He knew where you were.
Well, I worried about Mom when she did that. I would get called. But anyway, Ted really went out of his way to sacrifice for me. I appreciate it.
I need that. I'm trying to get up to somebody.
I remember him.
Is he the one that said that they didn't want him done that, and still doing that?
No, that was
I
me.
think Ted was.
That was me. I was tutoring both of them.
That was all of them at different
I
times.
told them, I said, don't you know that Echelons are smart now? Why are you guys acting so dumb?
You're the one that took him and said, now you will learn how to read.
Quit looking out the window now. Put your face right here. Look at me.
Well, I've never done an Echelon and didn't know how to read. My just didn't like to read. Now you will learn how to read this book.
Y'all getting all sorted.
Is this poopy on Teddy time?
Stay time.
Well, the question is, did you ever learn how to read?
He can read numbers, we know that.
Well, one time Steve said he'd give me $5 if I could read or spell we had this little box with all these words, and the cards were that big, they were white. And I was going through, and I was doing so well, I had got through half of that book, half of that thing. And then, I don't know if they would read the word and I would have to spell it, but the word was through. 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 T-H-R-U. No!
You didn't get your $5.
No, I didn't get my $5. It was probably 50 cents in all honesty.
Okay,
Justin, I think what I saw over here, what you just did, what it looked like to me would be good for your relationship. It looked like you said, Steve told me he'd give me $5. I didn't see the thumb at all.
Took me out of algebra.
Money's gonna be a little bit longer, you can work on
Marty in fact, she may have took that card book, and I remember sitting at that circular thing in the middle of Cleveland Park right off of Main Street. I remember sitting out there in the middle, and she said, we're going to say this for so long, and then we're going to go to Dairy Queen and get an ice cream cone. Well, I couldn't remember when we're staying. I couldn't think of ice cream cone. Somebody's going to spend time with me and give me an ice cream cone.
Oh, right. Remember that one?
So I guess it's my turn.
Yes.
Well, I have to tell a couple of things. First of all, when I was in the 7th grade, so I would have been about 13 years old. I think that might have been the year in our family life when we were the most poor. And I had one pair of pants and I had one shirt, and that's all I had. And the pair of pants I had developed a hole in them and being worn out from the knee. But that was the only pair of pants I had. I had a suit to go wear to church, but I had one pair of pants to wear to school. And I wore that pair of pants, you know, you wear them 5 days and then they get washed over the weekend and you wear them next week too, you know. You'd wash for a bit, baby, you wore like you do nowadays. But they got worse and worse. And Marcy was working at the Laws babysitting, and she would go down there and sleep every night. She made